Hi, I'm Dave with EV World News. We talk about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. I'm back with our founder and chief editor, Bill Moore. How's it going today, Bill?
Well, it's fine. I've been out, mowed the lawn this morning, got soaking wet, and got all cleaned up just for you guys. So
Yeah, I just realized that
we didn't have a lead in.
no, yeah, and I realized I was using the um, oh, whatchamacallit, the recording studio to do things yesterday, and it had some. I had to turn some things off to use it, and I also noticed some other things. Hold
Should we
on.
start over?
Well, no, but
Oh, okay. I'm good. I'm good. We'll just keep going. So yeah, it's I'm downstairs back in the office. It's a little cooler down here and a little quieter. So we're waiting for Dave to get things all booted up and get the show on the road here. Let's see, what can we talk about in the meantime while he comes up? Let's see, we could talk about sustainable aviation fuel. We could talk about. Oh, here he is. Okay, he's back.
okay. Yeah, I had to do a little editing. I got that fixed. Okay. Anyways, let's start out by talking about Tesla. Tesla had its quarter two report, and they delivered 480,000 vehicles, blowing away Wall Street's expectation of 406,000. They had a 25% year over year increase and 34% jump from quarter one.
Yep.
That was a big jump for Tesla. Model 3 and Y accounted for 97% of deliveries. Well, the only other cars they have are the truck because they
Yeah.
discontinued the S and the X.
There's
So,
three vehicles.
yeah, it's only three vehicles now. So,
Whereas their competitor blew them out of the water again, BYD.
oh, yeah. Yeah, BYD delivered 557,000 pure EVs
Yeah.
in quarter two. They
Yeah.
beat Tesla by 75,000 units. Um, BYD is expanding rapidly in Europe, Southeast Asia, and Latin America with target exports of 1.5 million vehicles in 26. Oddly, BYD's gone down in sales in China, which is
Yep, they've gone down and said the interesting thing. There was an article that I posted that they were saying that even though the sales in China have gone down, they still beat Tesla in total vehicle sales. They've set up this system of exports. They've
Mhm,
got dedicated roll-on, roll-off ships. I think they built three of them, something
mhm.
like that, three or four of them, just specifically to send the cars they produce in China out of the country to Europe and Australia. Um, where else are they going? The Middle East. So yeah, it's I how they're doing it, I don't know, but they're doing it.
Man, all the stocks in our ticker, for the most part, have taken a beating today. I don't know what's going on, but
Yeah. Well, don't know either.
SpaceX down to 152 bucks now. It started out at 135, but it went past
But there's
200 and then came back.
yeah. So if you got in at the start, you're still ahead of the game.
Yeah, but
I won't
Tesla
I
now.
won't talk about my two crypto plays. Just we won't even go there.
God. Yeah. Yeah, but it's funny. It's like Nvidia and Microsoft are the only companies that are up, and they're just barely up. Everybody else, I mean, Rivian down 14% today, Lucid down 8%. I mean,
Yeah.
those are some big numbers. Um,
You know what
anyways,
it was? You know what it was? America lost the World Cup game. That's what it is.
you think that's what's
The
killing the
whole the
stock
whole
market?
world got depressed because America lost to Belgium.
Yeah, well, the thing about that is, I don't know how many Americans know what the World Cup is.
Well, I don't know if that's true. That's quite true anymore because you drive around
Soccer is becoming a
Omaha.
little bit better known in the U.S., but still,
You all you see anymore under construction are soccer fields for the kids.
yeah, there's a
You
lot
know,
of them.
there are a lot of soccer fields going in and teams. Little kids out there learning. I once attempted when I was in going to school in Britain to play soccer, and the opposing team was my boss, who was the head gardener
Mhm.
on the thing, and I kicked him once too many times in the shins.
Oh, nice.
Or he ordered that. I guess that's probably why he then later had me picking up, I'm going to say it, chicken shit out of the
Hmm,
rose bed, picking
that's
chicken feathers out of the rose bed. I don't know
yeah,
if that had anything to do with it, but anyway, yeah, I
that's
wasn't
funny.
too good at soccer.
All right. Rivian raises guidance while Lucid stumbles. Rivian delivered 12,000 vehicles in quarter two versus 11,000 expected and raised 26 guidance from being in the 62 to 67,000 range to 65 to 70,000 range. So they're expecting to make more. The R2 midsize SUV started deliveries and is ramping up at their Normal, Illinois plant, where they're expecting 160,000 annual capacity. Although Rivian's down on our stock ticker.
Yeah,
Um,
there's something else going on. I don't know what it is, but okay. Thanks, Solar Times. But
yeah,
yeah,
one of the things, Lexus may just have some new models that have been, a little more exciting this year. You just never know what might be the reason for that, why one's doing better than the other. Lucid only delivered 3,900 vehicles versus 5,000 expected. The new CEO, Silvio Napoli, announced a major leadership restructuring, cutting direct reports to the CEO in half and replacing their chief financial officer. Um, Rivian has announced a 75 million share offering, which is going to dilute shares, and it caused the stock to plunge 10% despite strong delivery numbers.
yeah, I saw that they were using that. Apparently, they want to raise capital to make more investment. So I guess that's to be expected.
Oh, so Lexus EV sales. Is all Lexus sales up 100% or just Lexus EVs are up 100%? So I'm not aware of a lot of Lexus. I know they have
They
something,
have
but
some, but yeah, the some of them are masquerade. What they're masquerading under Subaru or something like that, the Solterra or that particular brand. I don't know. To be honest, I haven't been keeping all that close at tabs. There's so much going on with this space anymore. It's just we need to have about five or six of us, Dave, to keep track of all this.
hmm. They have three, three now. Two SUVs, the RZ and the TZ, and one car, the ES. So they're making the similar to other gas cars, but the ES, two of these cars start at one at 47, one at 48. That's pretty reasonable, I think, in the EV space, especially for a luxury brand like Lexus. So, anyways, grid emergency. PJM declares emergency as heat wave threatens blackouts. What was it? New York City hit 100 degrees.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, and they had what 102 in DC for the July 4th 250
Yeah,
celebration.
yeah, isn't
It's
that crazy?
just no, there's no climate change. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
we're just imagining it.
Um, let's see. PJM, which serves 65 million people across 13 states, forecast.
This is just for people. This is an East Coast utility grid system. So
Let's see. On July 2nd, they hit 166,000 megawatts, exceeding the all-time record of 165,000 megawatts. So it's 1,000 megawatts more, set in 2006. The grid operator declared an emergency and ordered curtailments to avoid blackouts. Generator failures and transmission overload. The crisis was caused by
yeah,
multiple
the heat.
generator outages during peak demand combined with overloaded transmission lines. Classic grid stress when aging infrastructure meets extreme weather and increasing electrification. Yeah, so we'll see how that
Yeah,
plays out. You
yeah.
know,
Well, how much of that is attributable to not just just aging grid, but also are there data centers that are I don't imagine that they have a deal where they scale back because the temperature goes up, whereas consumers, are asked, well, let us control your thermostat or that type of thing. Probably don't have that. I don't know. Do they have that kind of thing with the data center?
What do you mean?
Well, if you agree, for example, here to have our local utility replace your current thermostat with
Hmm.
their thermostat to control it, if they're starting to get a little dicey on power demand, particularly this time of year in the middle of summer, they can sort of dial back or they can control that thermostat to control when your air conditioner comes on and how much cooling you get, and you
Oh,
agree
dial
to
back
do
on
that.
the data center.
Yeah, do
Yeah,
they do
I
that
don't
for
know.
data centers?
Yeah, I don't know. You'd think that would be a reasonable thing when they're going to be the largest users of electricity.
Yeah, yeah,
You need that to stabilize things. I think you're really going to see enormous battery storage systems that all the data centers are going to have to really help balance those things. I think that's where a lot of this grid redundancy is going to come from.
yeah. It's going to
It's
come
going
from
to come
there.
from the fact that they're storing so much in batteries that they can give back to
Yeah,
the grid.
I just caught a glimpse. There was a TV ad ran locally about a local electrical company, electrician, right? Company
Mhm.
that does electrical work, and they had just a quick snapshot of a Ford. Looked like it was a Ford, either it was a Charger or it was a Ford home battery unit, backup unit.
Okay.
There was just a snapshot. I thought, oh, well, that's interesting. So we know that Ford's starting to get into not only just having chargers, but also having the home battery backup systems.
Let's see here. Um, did we touch on GM sales last week? I can't remember if we did or not. General
I
Motors,
no, I don't think we did.
brutal quarter two numbers. GM EV sales were down 41% year over year. From they sold only 27,400 EVs in quarter two, which was a 41% drop. The Equinox, their best seller, fell 62% to 6,660 units. Um, Total H126 vehicle sales were 1.34 million, down 6.8% from 2025's 1.44 million. So they were down in vehicle sales overall, but a lot in their EV side. Um, but hybrid demand is surging across the industry. GM struggles suggest their EV lineup isn't resonating with buyers who increasingly prefer plug-in hybrids as a transition technology. I keep going back. GM led with the EV1.
You
They
had
had
the EV
the Chevy
one.
Volt. You know,
Yep, and
and
then you had the what the Cadillac you were looking at,
yeah.
that one.
Well, that was the Chevy Volt still,
Yeah, it's a
but
Chevy Volt in a Cadillac
yeah, in a Cadillac
tuxedo.
chassis.
Yeah,
Yeah, but just saying, it's so funny. GM's been a leader in the EV space, but
try.
financially, they've never timed it right.
Yeah.
It just seems like whenever they get in, it's just too soon. And
Well,
what
I
had
guess
happened
that
is,
but in a way that could be said for all of them, can it? With the exception of Tesla has just freaking timed it, has
well,
timed it right. I mean, they struggled through the
right.
aughts, but wow.
I mean, a lot of people attribute a lot of Tesla's success is the fact that when they started bringing the Model S to market, interest rates were really low in
Oh yeah,
2012,
yeah.
and that they've enjoyed this period of historically low interest rates from 2012 to like 22 or something like that.
Uh
And it
huh.
really allowed them to be in a period where car sales were really pretty strong because interest rates were low.
Yeah, I'm starting to see reports, where the default rate on a lot of the. I mean, when you think about can you even buy a car now? Occasionally, I see ads where you can get a Tesla on lease for under $400. But if you're not looking out to buy a car, you're looking at 7 years and what, 3 or 4% interest rate and huge down payments and what, $40,000 to $60,000 for a car. It's just, I keep shaking my head when I see it. I'm glad I don't have to, buy a new car right now because when I bought my own personal first new car, I paid $5,000 for a Mazda 626. $5,000, and of course that seemed like a lot of money back then too. But still,
Right.
60,000, 10 times that number. Wow.
I know it's hard to fathom. Yeah, it is something. Ford canceling the Lightning just before the oil conflict, but Ford struggled. Yeah, we talk about this all the time. Ford sells an electric Explorer in Europe for the last few years. They don't sell one in the United States. And you think about it's their popular SUV, and yet
Yeah,
they
why
don't
not
sell
here?
in our market. Sometimes I just don't know what these companies are doing. It's just like the whole concept of Buick doesn't sell an EV in the United States, but they have 4 or 6 different models in China, and they do well over there.
Yeah.
The Buick brand is a quality brand in China, and
Yeah,
and China is the world's
it's
largest car market. Yeah, go figure.
yeah,
So
go
some of
figure.
this is really hard to understand. And then the funny thing is they cancel the Lightning, and yet they're coming out with a $30,000 EV truck.
Right, pickup truck. Yep,
You
yep.
know,
And
and they're
they catch these guys that go around and try to catch these things under camouflage. They've caught a few of them under with camouflage. Excuse me, out road testing, all covered with weird wrap around stencils and things on them.
all right. Let's talk about why repair comes next. So as a
Yeah,
global,
that's interesting.
all right. So this is an EV World article. As the global EV fleet ages past factory battery warranties, a missing independent repair ecosystem risks perfectly good vehicles being totaled prematurely. The industry is shifting from new sales to long-term maintenance phase. It's really common to total out vehicles that really don't seem like they should. I mean, um, we have a dealership here, Internet Car Lot. They have like multiple locations. They have repair
Right,
centers and all that here. They only sell bad title cars. So salvage titles, they call them
right,
branded titles on their
right.
sales thing, but they're all salvage titles that they've rebuilt. And they make money buying these cars and fixing them back up. And they have everything from Teslas all the way up. I've seen them without Lamborghinis.
Huh.
I had somebody tell me they tried to, because I know a guy who owns it. And somebody was telling me he'd called him and see if he wanted to buy a Ferrari that they had gotten, and I'm just like, it is hard to fathom that they buy that many cars
Uh,
and insurance is written
yeah.
off and fix them back up because those lots are pretty big.
Well,
I mean, they
my
have
my
tons of cars.
the Prius that I owned for over 10 years, it was a salvage. It
Hmm.
was written off. It was in a wreck. It had like 1,200 miles on it, and it was in a wreck down in Texas.
Hmm.
And it ended up getting bought by a company that does this kind of work and specializes in Priuses. And I was able to get a really good deal on it. They, fixed it up, and I what what did I spend for that? I spent several $100,000 or several $1,000 less than I would have for a car with similar miles that hadn't been in a wreck. So I mean, it worked out for me, and the car had a fairly good track record until we decided to convert it over to a plug-in. But that's another story we won't get into.
Oh, interesting. All right. There's no standardized protocol for high voltage diagnostics, component level battery pack restoration, or circular reuse. Creates a bottleneck worse than charging infrastructure. Cars that can't be economically fixed get scrapped. You know, uh, cars are getting so cheap to make. I don't know what you do with some of that because when we look at some of these things where they're making 4-door cars in China that are EVs for less than $10,000, selling
Yeah.
them. I mean, how do you justify fixing something? I
Well,
mean,
yeah, that's how so much of what we have, you know. Well, do I take it and fix it? And do I spend as much doing that for something that's brand new?
yeah, and it's not like the batteries are being thrown in the trash. I mean, the batteries are super valuable. They're being recycled
Yep,
somewhere,
yep, yep,
repurposed.
yep.
Even if the battery was damaged, they fix them and still use them for storage systems. All right, let's switch over to battery longevity. So, EV batteries have quietly been outperforming every expectation. You know, it's funny. People are like, "Oh, the batteries are going to die. Whatever. The car's going to set on fire." It's just really funny. You know, we've been doing this now. Um, Friday, I'll make 3 years that we have been doing this,
Wow. Huh.
and together. And it's just funny because I don't we don't see some of these arguments anymore. I don't really see anybody talk about EV fires. It's been almost a year since I've really seen somebody bring up the fire issue. Um, and it's funny. It's like high mileage fleet data now shows minimal degradation, even past 200 and 300,000 miles. Battery replacements are rare, far rarer than early models predicted, dramatically lowering lifetime ownership costs. I mean, the United States, if you took your Chevy Bolt, pre 2021, completely out of all statistics, you would massively change how people viewed EV batteries. I mean, because most of the problems really were relegated to the Chevy Bolt. And of course, GM did a nice job of replacing all those batteries,
Yeah, they
but
did.
you had issues with those early batteries in
Yeah.
early Chevy Bolts. If you were to find a used one from 2020, it's probably still a pretty damn good car because the battery's probably been replaced.
And yeah, and particularly it could be, I mean, you can check that and they certainly advise you to do that if you're looking, at those earlier models, make sure that the battery, has been replaced and you'll get a good vehicle out of it.
I mean, we're in 2026. You can still in the United States, you can buy a 2018 or newer EV, and it's still going to have battery warranty as long as it hasn't been driven over 100,000 miles.
Right.
Now,
Yeah. 10 years.
um, some of the Teslas I look at, they have 150,000 mile warranties on it. Some of the Rivians have 175,000 mile warranties on them. I mean, some of these manufacturers have put some real warranties and they've stood behind.
Serious numbers on it. Yep.
Yeah, and they realize they can afford to do that. Um, and now, one of my friends had sort of a kind of original, one of the early years of the Model X. I think maybe a 2019 or a 2020. One of my friends has a 2018 Model X. He has the first Model X from it was sold in the state of Florida.
Oh,
And
okay.
but somebody else has had one, and they ran almost 200,000 miles on that, and they've had a couple battery replacements, all under warranty. They haven't had they had a 150,000 mile warranty on the battery, free lifetime supercharging, and they had the battery replaced twice before the warranty expired. They've had no problems since. But they also have a Model S, a Model 3, and a Model Y. They have a 2026 Model Y.
Or,
Yeah, they have one of each. They don't have a truck.
yeah.
Now, to be fair,
Well, why not? I mean, you might as well get the pair,
yeah,
get the set. Sorry, get the set.
yeah, the S isn't driven. It was bought to do experiments on. So
Okay.
yeah,
Experiments.
no, it to for the development of EV range extenders.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, so it was bought for that purpose, and
They here local or are they out of state?
Tampa.
Tampa. Okay. All right.
Yeah, um, but it's funny.
Was that
They used on the Model X. They used the self-driving regularly on the freeway, but their 2026 Model Y, which has AI 5, which is the most current computer system and camera setup. He says it's unbelievable. It's so much better,
huh?
but because it'll do everything in local driving, parking your car, turning in traffic, all these things, and
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, The car has no real. The car knows exactly what it's capable of, which is very interesting. As a driver, you don't always know what your how your tires are going to spin, all those things. But the car has all this data that, as a human, it's hard to replicate. And an EV is so much more um, responsive, than a gas car. And it's interesting to see that. Yeah. Well, and this is one of the things, Solar Times, that we've seen as we've been doing the show. It's like everybody, I remember early on when I got into the space, people were asking me, I knew people that had relatives who had started up battery recycling facilities. And what we've seen in the 3 years I've been doing this show is that everybody is doing what you're saying. They're repurposing the batteries because they're not wearing out, and they're perfectly good for power systems for homes. And we've seen where people are trying to make them into grid scale, where they're trying to collect literally hundreds of these and use them as battery packs. Um, Tesla uses them when they replace a battery. They've been putting them on their facilities in Fremont and in Sparks, Nevada, and using them as battery storage for energy for their own facilities. So it's way more common than you'd think to do that. Everybody thinks they're going. I mean, I'm always still surprised if I hear somebody say, what are you going to do with those used EVs? You can't throw them in throwing those batteries um, in the junkyard. I haven't even heard people bring that argument up. It's been months, Bill.
No.
You don't really hear that.
We're past that. Yeah.
I think people are starting to learn that that's not really going on. Okay. And of course, I asked you about this article before we started. This is so strange. Canada's doing a canola oil for cars barter deal to get 18 Lotus EVs. All right, Bill, can you tell me what's going on here?
So what's happening is that now, whether it's the commodities board or whether this is being run by the federal government out of Ottawa, or whether it's exactly, but what's happening is that Canada, I'll say it Canada because it could be any of those below that organizations, has decided that instead of buying these are importing and dealing with all the issues regarding tariffs and things like that, that they would bring in the Geely built Lotus.
Mhm.
Geely, the Chinese company, bought several different brands, one of which was the famous racing company Lotus. And so they bought it and they built this sedan called, I think it's the Elite or Litra or something. Anyway, they bought that. And so they're bringing those and they're importing them into Canada, but they are using a swap. So what they're doing is instead of paying cash for them, they're shipping and trading them for so many gallons, I would gather hundreds of gallons, thousands of gallons of canola oil, which helps the local Midwestern Canadian economy, because most of that canola is being, grown in the central provinces. And they're getting around any kind of trade barriers and things like that and tariffs. So it's interesting. So, I mean, it's only 18 cars. So it's not like it's a, flood, but it's sort of an interesting way to bring, Chinese built cars into the Canadian market. Will we ever see them here in the U.S. on that kind of deal? I don't know. Will we trade ethanol,
So
for it? I don't know. Probably not.
currently, Canada has a 100% tariff, or I'm sorry, China has a 100% tariff on Canadian canola
On
oil.
Canadian
And so
canola
this
oil,
is
yeah,
part of it. They're trying to make a deal to reduce tariffs.
yep.
So,
Yeah, well,
um,
it's been an interesting approach. Let's see how it goes in the future. It might set a precedent.
yeah. Oh, yeah, Solar Times. Yeah, we're way behind in a lot of things. It's really kind of a lot of energy generation. There's a lot of energy generation types like wave technology and other things that I've seen people are doing overseas that haven't been done in the U.S. yet. But yeah, the U.S. is behind, obviously, on
Well, and we
solar
let and we
warranties.
and we led all of these at one time. We were the leaders in all that technology, and then an administration came into office and said, we don't need solar panels on the top of the White House. And
Yeah.
things began to go into retrograde from that point on.
Yeah, it's kind of the nature of it gets old now that you, like I said before, there used to be the two political parties debated about who had the better version of each topic. Now they don't even argue the same topics.
Yeah.
If your party's for it, it's stupid. And that's how the 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 political parties seem to treat everything, and they both do it, and it's kind of maddening. It's like, look, everybody needs energy. There's not like I was telling somebody,
And clean water and clean air and soil that isn't poisoned. Yeah.
yeah, I was telling somebody this morning. Somebody stopped me at the gym and wanted to talk about energy, and I was just like, look, I can make a good argument against every kind of energy of why you shouldn't use it. Okay, there's a downside to every single type of energy. Okay, doesn't mean that you shouldn't use it. Right now, the only one I have a hard time defending is probably coal. Okay, coal's probably the hardest one to defend, but I'm just saying I could debate both for and against every type of energy, but every type of energy has a purpose, and um, it's like people who don't want to augment with wind and solar. It's kind of silly. I mean,
Totally agree. Totally
it's cheap
agree. Yeah.
energy, and the other thing is too, solar is something that individuals can own. I'm not saying you couldn't own a wind turbine, but it'd probably be hard to get approval for it, right? Unless you had a big old farm, right? You're not going to get approval to put a big wind turbine in your backyard in the city limits, right? But solar is the one type of energy generation, other than you could put a generator and be burning some propane or LNG or something,
Yeah.
and
And
creating some.
now you're still dependent on, outside fossil fuel source.
Right.
Where
Yeah, you're dependent on
sun
something else.
is shining out there right now. Tap into that. Which by the way, I'm remiss I haven't yet, but our esteemed producer here has a fair amount of solar on his house. So good job.
Yeah. Well, thankfully, the power grid on the East Coast did not collapse.
Yep.
That was a fear. But anyways, we're out of time, Bill. Um,
I'm going to go grab some lunch then.
All right. Well, anyways, folks, I want to thank everybody for watching today. I
Yep.
should be back on Friday with engineer Mike Herzog. Until then,
Maybe
everybody have a
fingers
wonderful day.
crossed.
Yeah. Yeah.